Hey guys, Justin Morgan here, and today I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the topic of osteoporosis. And I actually had a conversation this week with a girl that was in my dietetics class, and we had done a service learning project together. And while we were doing that, I forget what brought up osteoporosis, but it kind of got me to thinking about some of the things. I shared some facts with her, just of statistics, epidemiological type things. We do a lot to recommend that people increase their calcium intake, and there are some facts that we know, things that are legitimately 100% true, and that is that green leafy vegetables and the calcium in them, and such as romaine lettuce or kale, have a much higher bioavailability rate than you see from calcium from sources like milk, cow's milk. And that is at least 20%, 20 to 30% more of the calcium in green leafy vegetables is used to strengthen and build bone mass, to create osteoclasts, or osteoblasts, by which we form our bones, our calcium deposits. And um, but the funny thing is that the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, knowing that those foods are much greater, they have a much higher bioavailability, and they come with no negative side effects. They're only positive side effects associated with green leafy vegetables and the increased consumption, many of them pertaining to the phytonutrients that we just classify as phytonutrients in them, phytochemicals. So aside from vitamins, minerals, and those things. But um, what I was kind of discussing with this girl. We had talked about a few things, and I always hear like people say that things that are probably true. I haven't gone around to statistics and verified this, but I've heard that that the five highest or countries with rates of osteoporosis are also the five countries with the highest rates of milk consumption, and those being Denmark, Sweden, Holland, Norway, and the United States. Um, I don't know if all that's true or not, but I do know that in rural China we see very low incidences of osteoporosis, and it would not surprise me if both of those were true, and I would say that it probably has nothing to do with diet whatsoever. I'm not saying that diet doesn't, well, I shouldn't say whatsoever. I'm not saying diet doesn't play a role at all. I'm just saying that I don't think it plays a major role, or as big of a role as we've made it out to be. And I think the biggest role, the biggest factors that we see in preventing osteoporosis are non-diet related, and those are activity. We know for a fact, without doubt, that up until around the age of 30, we build bone mass. And every decade after that, we lose about 10% of our bone mass, women in particular. But what we also know is that if you do load-bearing exercises, that you can actually build a percent of bone mass every week. So instead of, every week, every year, every decade. So instead of losing around 10% of your bone mass every decade, you can actually build 1% of your bone mass up every decade. So that's an 11% difference between those who are doing load-bearing exercise and those who are not. Now, you don't have to do a ton of work, but if we look at the work that's being done in rural China, I remember just a few months back there was I saw a bunch of things posted on Facebook about the strongman competition going on there, and these guys carrying these buckets of watermelon, and this little old lady waddles out of the rice paddies and picks those things up and carries them off while these gigantic strongmen are watching her walk by. And she says, I've been carrying these things around since I was a teenager, and now she's up in age. I don't know exactly how old she was, but my point in this video is just that that activity seems to be, in my opinion, the biggest indicator of osteoporosis. So if you're worried about osteoporosis, maybe you should think less about what you're putting in your mouth and think a lot more about moving your body and being active. So I can't say that that gives you all the answers, but it's at least a place to start from, something to think about. You guys take it easy. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment below if you have them.